The rain hadn't stopped for 2 days straight, and I was down to my last bit of cash. My roommate had suddenly moved out, taking half the furniture, the Wi-Fi, and, apparently, our lease agreement with him. So there I was, standing outside the apartment with my life stuffed into 2 duffel bags, staring at the for rent sign that might as well have been a goodbye note from the universe. I had nowhere to go, no family nearby, and no one to call. Then a familiar voice broke through the storm. "Ethan?" It was Mrs. Carter, my roommate's mom. She'd always been kind when she visited, offering leftovers and warm smiles that didn't feel forced. Now she stood there in her oversized coat, holding an umbrella that smelled faintly like lavender and rain. "You can't stay out here," she said softly. "Come home with me." I tried to refuse, but she wasn't asking. She was insisting. And when we reached her house, a quiet, cozy place on the edge of town, I couldn't help but feel something shift in my chest. The smell of coffee and cinnamon hung in the air. "There's a guest room," she said, setting down my bag. "You can stay as long as you need." I nodded, trying not to look too grateful, though every part of me was. But as she turned to leave, her voice lowered, barely above a whisper, "You don't need to sleep alone, if you don't want to." I froze. Her words lingered, not in a suggestive way, but with something deeper, loneliness, maybe. A shared ache. I didn't answer, and she didn't push. But that moment, it stayed. The days that followed blurred between gratitude and confusion. Mrs. Carter, Anna, as she asked me to call her, was warmth in human form. She'd make pancakes in the morning, hum softly while reading, and ask about my job hunt with genuine interest. It wasn't pity, it was presence. And it was something I hadn't felt in a long time, but living under the same roof brought unspoken tension too. Every glance at breakfast lingered a second too long. Every shared laugh seemed to hang in the air like something fragile, precious, and forbidden. I caught myself watching her sometimes, the way she brushed her hair behind her ear, the tired look in her eyes when she thought no one noticed. It wasn't desire that filled the silence between us. It was understanding. 2 people carrying different versions of the same loneliness. One night, I woke to the sound of thunder. The storm had returned, echoing the one from the night I arrived. I went downstairs, half asleep, and found her sitting by the fireplace, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the flames. "Couldn't sleep either?" she asked. I shook my head and sat beside her. "I keep thinking," she said, voice trembling, "how quiet this house gets now that Michael's gone. I spent years taking care of everyone. My husband left, my son moved away, and I forgot what it meant to take care of myself." Her eyes glistened, reflecting the flickering light. I wanted to say something, anything, but all that came out was, "You're not alone anymore." She smiled through the tears, a small, broken smile that somehow carried strength. She leaned her head on my shoulder, not out of romance, but out of relief. For the first time, the silence felt right. It wasn't about filling the space between us, it was about sharing it. Weeks passed. I found a steady job, started saving again. Every morning, she'd greet me with coffee and a small note, "You've got this." Sometimes we'd cook together, sometimes we'd just sit quietly with music playing. The world outside moved fast, but inside that house, time seemed to breathe differently. Then came the day I told her I was moving out. She smiled, though I could see the hurt flicker in her eyes. "I knew this day would come," she said. "You were never meant to stay lost forever." I hugged her, tighter than I meant to. "You saved me," I whispered. She shook her head. "No, Ethan. You just needed someone to remind you that you were worth saving." That night, as I packed my things, I found a note she'd slipped into my bag. It said, "You don't need to sleep alone, not because someone is next to you, but because you've learned how to rest without fear again." And that's when I understood. Her words that first night weren't about comfort in the physical sense. They were about connection, about healing. About how 2 lonely souls found warmth in the middle of a storm and taught each other how to live again. When I left the next morning, the sky was clear for the first time in weeks. She stood on the porch, smiling softly, the sunrise painting her face in gold. I waved, knowing that no matter where I went next, I'd carry that house and her kindness with me, because sometimes, the people who rescue you aren't the ones who chase storms away. They're the ones who invite you in when you've got nowhere else to go, and remind you that you never really had to face the storm alone.